Russia, North Korea, worrisome bedfellows on the world stage. Kyiv being bombed once again. A top Ukrainian official resigns, all while Ukraine continues to wage a counteroffensive. And the world kind of waits on edge to see how it plays out. Here to break it down, Dr. Dick Farkas, professor of political science at DePaul. Dr. Farkas, we appreciate you joining us once again.
Thank you. It's kind of soap opera-like, but it's very, very serious.
Yeah, it really, truly is. So Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un plan to break bread over a possible arms deal, apart from the obvious red flags that are probably more than the Soviet army combined, that arise when two leaders of this infamy meet. And they're going to meet, so potentially North Koreans can share arms with Russia. What's this show? Does it show how desperate Russia is for arms, or does it show the world how worried we should be that they're going to kind of BFF this thing? I mean, what are we to make of this?
Well, I think that the most important thing to remember is that world leaders are judged by the company they keep. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's any downside for us, basically. These are two characters, neither of which are free to travel the world. Mm-hmm. Either one of them would probably be arrested in a whole host of places to which they might want to travel. When it comes to the arms flow, I think what Americans probably should have in sharp focus is that most of the arms that we're talking about would be conventional arms and probably unreliable.
Okay.
Both when China and Russia supply arms to North Korea, they're anxious about North Korea, so they don't provide the best stuff, mm-hmm. and they don't provide the best maintenance, and they don't provide the best spare parts. So while the Koreans are good and North Koreans are good about making military parades, I wouldn't worry about the battlefield effectiveness of that stuff. Both of these guys are really desperate for some positive imagery, and I think they're failing to calculate how negative this relationship can be. I think in bottom line, it will be judged as a Putin mistake.
Yeah.
And he should probably ask Donald Trump about how much mileage he got out of his relationship with
Kim Jong-un. Yeah, correct. All right. So this announcement was made around the same time Ukraine announced a major government shakeup. The country's defense minister resigned following President Zelensky's new effort to fight corruption in the military. So high-level positions in government can be a revolving door, but not always when your country is being invaded. The replacement just announced is actually from Crimea, which is a disputed region, one would think. Russia says it's Russia's. Ukraine says it's Ukraine's. Crimea probably sees itself as sovereign. So President Zelensky's choice of a Crimean defense minister says something?
Well, it's certainly a signal, but not the primary signal. Mm-hmm. The primary signal, because, I mean, we have to remember that Zelensky's major appeal, major focus, well before the war, was fighting corruption. That's what got him elected, and that was the commitment he made. And probably, on balance, that was the society's biggest single problem, carryover from the old Soviet sense about how you got things done. So corruption is something that's very central to Zelensky's thinking. The actual issue here is about skimming. Okay. It's about military procurement, not even of military equipment, but of food and boots and all kinds of common things that armies require. And apparently it became clear that people in the middle levels of this procurement system in Ukraine during the war were making themselves rich. There are over 100 indictments of people in the middle and lower levels for having done that. Now, that's a real positive for Zelensky. I mean, it shows that he's into it. Mm-hmm. The important thing to note is that this is not a military shift. The fellow that was removed, Reznikov, is not indicted for any corruption or any having committed any crimes or having done anything wrong. It's just that he wasn't thoroughgoing enough in cleaning out the lower levels. The new guy, Umerov, he's from Crimea, and that is a signal. But the primary signal here is that he was very effective at rooting out state corruption in the state property agency. which is a really big deal. And so Zelensky selected a guy who gets the job done. And while he's not a military guy, there's no shift in military position here or strategy. This is about rooting out corruption in the procurement levels.
That's interesting. So one quick final question for you. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken recently met with President Zelensky, promising a lot of money during the visit. The Pentagon also announced, as part of the $1 billion in additional aid, they will be giving them depleted uranium munitions. Now, when I think uranium, I think nuclear weapons. You know, Russia calls it an indicator of inhumanity. It's also the option people fear Russia will use in Ukraine, and Russia's meeting with North Korea. So I get depleted as depleted, but doesn't this seem a little dicey to dabble in this conversation? And you answer quickly, if you could, please.
Yeah, I think it is. I think the key word that you hung your question on is critical. It's depleted. So it really doesn't present any immediate danger. And remember, we're in a war, or they are in a war, and as a consequence, they want to use whatever supplies and weapon systems they can. So I think there's not much for us to worry about, and very little for people to worry about in terms of violating major global principle.
Okay. I think no matter what, though, anytime you put an adjective in front of uranium, no matter what the adjective, it concerns people. Dr. Dick Farkas, professor of political science at DePaul. Dr. Farkas, thank you for joining us, being a friend of the stream, and enlightening us on this Friday. We appreciate it.
Sure enough.
Here at CBS News Chicago, we're getting